which was just more Liberal broken promises. But what it didn't talk about was the rising cost of everything in this country. Gasoline, groceries, rent, clothing, everything that Canadians need for their basic needs are going through the roof. So my question for the Prime Minister is simple. When is the last time he's gone and filled up his tank of gas? When has he gone to a grocery store? When has he gone to a hardware store? Does he know what a loaf of bread costs now, or maybe a can of beans, or a package of bacon? Thank you.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in the conversations I've had with Canadians over the past number of months, two things kept coming back as their greatest concerns. One was the rising costs of childcare and how much it costs their family. Two was their concerns about the housing crisis we're living. Well, Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives who pretend to know what Canadians are going through promised to cut our plan on childcare, to scrap it entirely when families need the thousands of dollars that our deal for $10 a day would bring them, and their plan on housing was to give tax breaks to wealthy landlords so they could sell their homes. That doesn't make sense, Mr. Speaker.
I'm trying to hear the questions and the responses and answers. I just want to make sure that everybody wants to hear them as well. Good. Okay, good. We're good to proceed. The Honourable Member for Portage-Lisker.
Well, let me answer that question for the Prime Minister. A year ago, a pack of bacon was about $5. Today, if you go and buy even no-name brand, everybody knows what no-name brand is except maybe the Prime Minister, it's almost $8. Mr. Speaker, people without children, seniors, those who have school-aged children are buying bacon, bread, eggs, clothing, rent, and this is costing them. But it's very disappointing to have a Prime Minister who is so out of touch. The only thing he might be worried about is if the cost of surfboards go up. I guess he'll worry about that. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister acknowledge that there is a crisis going on with inflation in this country?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, while Conservatives try to score cheap political points, we are focused on Canadians. We will continue to work hand in hand with provinces, including Conservative provinces like Alberta, that realize that moving forward on $10 a day childcare, and indeed cutting childcare costs in half for families as soon as this coming January, will make a huge difference in affordability for families. On top of that, we are moving forward to make even more investments in countering the housing crisis, because we know those are two big issues that Canadians are struggling, but there are more. We will continue to work with them on it.
Bravo. The Honourable Member for Portage-Lisker.
Well, I see the other thing that's inflating is the Prime Minister's arrogance and disconnect.
Hear,
it's very disappointing to see. The Prime Minister said he doesn't care about monetary policy. Well, that's clear, because it's his monetary policy that is causing massive inflation in Canada. And he might try to say, well, it's happening everywhere, but it's worse in Canada. And people without children, or people with school-aged children, seniors, there are Canadians who are struggling with it. So when will the Prime Minister stop just talking about daycare and talk about the fact that everything in this country is going up, and he doesn't seem to realize it or wants to address it?
Hear, hear.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, we see once again the Conservative ideology of this federal party slip through as they talk disparagingly about things like, oh, stop talking about childcare, start talking about things that matter to people. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, but the investments that Canadians need, and indeed the Conservative premiers as well across the country recognize, is supporting families is not just good for moms, not just good for kids, it's good for the entire economy as we see greater workplace participation. That, unfortunately, is what Conservatives, yet again, do not get because of their ideology.